1450 and 95.9. Worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us, family. We hope you had a great weekend. Later, Black politics expert Dr. James Taylor will return to our classroom. Dr. Taylor is a political scientist who will explain how the Russian attack on Ukraine will impact the U.S. geopolitical landscape. Dr. Taylor will also review Biden's State of the Union address and Biden's pick for the Supreme Court. Before we hear from Dr. Taylor, financial expert J.B. Bryan will talk about the rising gas prices and inflation rates as well. To get us started, do we have Sergeant Robinson with us? All right, let's go to, I know JB's there. So JB, welcome back.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
So JB, people are screaming about these gas prices and the inflation rate.
That's right.
Going hand in hand. Is there anything we can do, or we just have to? As Magic Johnson would say, you just got to sup it up, brother. Is that what we're going to have to do?
Yeah, and it's just never to be wise about your money, to be wise financially. There's so much going on in so many different ways with wages not being adjusted along with this inflation. Several reports have shown already that pensions are not going to get a raise, but yet some, not even some, most pension investment managers last year made record numbers, record returns. So here you are, that the municipality has made a lot of money off your money, but you're not going to get a raise so that you can support the gas prices, so you can maintain your style of living. So even Social Security did a 5% increase. So if you're relying on a pension, which many people in our community do rely on pensions, they're much more likely to work for a government or municipality of some sort. So they're going to have a pension that's connected to their retirement income. Well, this is a disappointment for them because of finding out that they're using the current market as an excuse for not giving you a raise on last year's stellar performance. So I believe that people need to unite. And I see a lot of retirees getting together as a group and going to their past employer, even if it's a municipality, and talking to them about getting their pension increase, their rights to the earnings that were made by the municipality in that great stock market that we had last year. It is their responsibility to take those earnings so that the retirees will benefit from the earnings that were made last year. It's not about these short-term changes, but what has happened over the long term. They deserve credit for that, and they need the adjustment so that they can deal with these gas prices.
Well, these gas prices, it seems like they're predicting they're going to go higher as well. Do you think the American people are because of what's going on in Ukraine, are ready to accept the higher prices?
Yeah, and the amazing part of it is that Russia is actually making more money because the prices have gone up. So this is not punishing Russia at this point, because we have not decided collectively as a country that we're going to stop getting fuel from Russia. So if we're still purchasing from them and the prices are going up that we have to pay, that we're actually financing the war in a way. And I know that, people hate to hear that, but that's really what's happening because there hasn't been a sanction on that. So the prices are going up and they have to be paid based on what might happen down the road. Crazy, isn't it, when you think about it?
People are saying because of the war, it's sort of accepted. People have come to, say, okay.
And there's no rational reason for it. We need to have, since our government has decided to get in a war that doesn't involve us, that we need to have a government subsidy that controls that impact on the American consumer. They need to do that. Bring the prices back down. There's no way that we should be paying for for Russia basically to be able to get a premium on their fuel because we're still buying it from them and the prices are inflated. So you have citizens here that are being robbed. We might not be bombed, but we're being robbed and basically supporting a war that is not about us.
And explain to the audience, JB, how the ripple effect takes place. That it starts with the fuel, but it goes on just about everything that we purchase.
Everything. I mean, even if you Google right now, what prices have been inflated even before this. So, but if we only focus on fuel, then it's focusing on how we get our food, how our food is transported. Also, it impacts wheat because a lot of wheat comes out of Ukraine and Russia. So, all of those things have to be transported. And if even our truckers are transporting at a higher fuel price, then it comes to us in the grocery store. So it does indeed trickle right into our own pockets in every way. In addition to
Right.
more people going back to work. Think about that. Our employers are now telling people, I want you back to work by the middle of March. I want you back to work, now at least 4 days a week in the office, which is a problem for a lot of people. They've been saving money, I hope, but now they're going to have to spend more money than really ever to transport themselves back and forth to work when they were doing it successfully from home.
Right. And the rationale behind them now encouraging people to come back is because I guess, the decline in the reports about the virus. Is that the rationale?
Exactly. The vaccines were created and pushed so that the economy would get back active and people would get back to work, and employers would not have to worry about exposing employees to additional risk because of coming to work. So now the numbers have been declining, the hospitalizations have declined. So that definitely the employers are going to be pushing you back into your car, and you're going to have to pay these fuel prices, pay these food prices. You may have been saving money at home because you were eating your lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner at home. Now you have to go back to possibly, if you don't pack it up, you're going to have to really pack the lunch up so that you can continue to save money. You're going to have to
Well,
continue
well,
to just
well, JB,
prepare.
will this
Mhm.
stimulate the economy then? Once people start going back into the offices, of course they're going to have to go to the cleaners. They're going to have to, as you mentioned, get lunch and all that. All these other subsidiaries start manufacturing stuff. Is
That's a
that going to make the economy start moving again?
That's a good point. The jobs numbers did go up, but the frightening part about it, Carl, is that wages aren't going up. So if you're getting, everybody's going back to work, but they can't afford to live, that's a challenge. Rent numbers are up dramatically. Affordable housing is becoming harder and harder to find. Interest rates are headed higher. The Federal Reserve said they're going to increase interest rates. So if you have to use a credit card to maintain your household, that's going to become even more expensive if they continue to move forward on this. And so yeah, I would say as far as the positives with it, there's so many negatives that I think will be still to our disadvantage if we don't get these inflation numbers to come down, because the cost of clothing is up like over 10%, especially women's clothing. Food is up like 6%. Education is up dramatically. These things cost so much. That
So
it's uh-huh.
my question is JB, because we all figure that out. So what do
Mhm.
we do? What's the solution?
I believe that what we have to do is live modestly. And I don't think that we really want to hear that. I don't think that you want to accept what I've had to accept as an entrepreneur in order to survive. I started my business in 1995. So there have been so many incidents like this that it was, if I don't tighten up, if I don't conserve, if I don't learn to get more done with less, then I'm not going to be able to sustain the business, and I'm not going to be able to survive. And we need to manage our households that same way. There and there's a lot of money that is spent on just entertainment. And then maybe that could be an area where we could say, you know what, I'm not gonna go and spend that much money in Vegas every 90 days. Maybe I'll have to take that money and save it because my child is starting college in a couple of years, and I don't want them to have to get all those loans because our community, if you look at the numbers, has drastically double the debt load versus the white community when they complete college. And after 3 years of graduation, the typical Black graduate, unfortunately, hasn't made one loan payment yet. So this means they haven't been able to successfully find a job that they can afford to make that payment. So these loan payments are about to kick back in. And that's going to hit our community because what? We're more likely to have the school loan. They start at the end of May. They come back. So what are we doing now to make sure that when that school loan starts again, you don't mess up your credit score by not making that payment? And I think that conservation is the key, but also learning how to increase your income. I don't believe that you have to stop your full-time job in order to create an entrepreneurial spirit. But I do believe that people have talents that they have learned at work that it will. For many jobs, it's not a conflict of interest. If it's not a conflict of interest with your employer, take that skill and create additional income for yourself on weekends or evenings. But we have to figure out how to increase your income, or you're going to have to bring down the
All right.
expenses.
Hold that thought right there, JB. We
Great.
got to take a short break. Folks, you want to join this conversation with JB Bryan? We're talking about money. Reach out to us. 800-450-7876. Those are the magic numbers. We'll take your calls next on FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power.
Good day back at you, Snoopy D.
We're in bad shape in Arlington due to a few new incidents.
Information right back at you. Thank you.
The Towel Shop is hiring sales and design
And
store
so
and
positive.
assistant managers in the DMV area. A fast-paced environment with unlimited
It's folded.
potential. Final bonuses from $500 and growth opportunities apply at towelshop.com. We're in bad shape on 395 in Arlington for drivers on Makeaway southbound.
It's the
Due to a
Bradley.
multi-vehicle collision, you'll be sluggish.
Thank you for hanging out with me.
Passing Washington Boulevard, approaching Glebe Road.
It's Anderson.
Parkway also in terrible shape
Good
northbound.
evening, right
You're
back
also
at you.
blocked due to an accident. You're passing Spout Run Parkway, a complete parking lot for you northbound from the Memorial Bridge and Memorial Avenue. As you're passing the Roosevelt Bridge and approaching the Chain
It's
Bridge,
been too
you
much,
want to
huh?
avoid that as well. Again, that incident
That's
at
right.
the Spout Run Parkway intersection. 3rd Street Tunnel at a
Thank you,
crossing
y'all.
northbound from D Street approaching New York Avenue.
Thank you.
295 still sluggish for you.
Cassandra.
Northbound, wherever you
I
volume
love
from the
you
11th
back.
Street Bridge passing Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm Taryn.
My
News Talk
cousin.
1450 AM, WOL, where
Thank you.
information is power.
Sunday
Thank
nights
you.
are all new on TV One
Being physically
I
abused, mentally
appreciate
abused,
you all.
emotionally abused. I had to plan my exit.
with Unsung at 9,
Who wants to hear somebody say save money, huh?
in for a rude awakening, followed by Uncensored at 10.
I felt bad for Dina because she was the white girl that was stealing the black man.
No script, no lies, no bull.
This is where my story really begins.
All new
Remote
Sunday nights
working
with Unsung at
opportunities.
9 and Uncensored at 10 on TV One.
We don't want you on our team. You're too slow and fat.
This is weight bias.
I'm worried about your weight.
Don't you care what other people think?
Millions who live and are affected by obesity face weight bias every day.
That's
You're not
terrible.
the right fit for this job.
Unfair judgment by others.
Just stop eating so much and exercise some. You lose all this weight.
These people often blame themselves.
It's just me. Nobody likes me. I do exercise and eat right. And I talk to my doctor.
Weight bias hurts.
Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.
Your words and actions matter.
Stop weight bias.
Let's work together.
Be part of the solution. Go to stopweightbias.com and learn more. A public service message from Obesity Action Coalition.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceretirement.org/Shiro.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Got another idea.
Listen to the Carl Nelson Show now on our free mobile app.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is financial advisor J.B. Bryan. We're discussing all the rising costs of goods and commodities. Everything's just going up. Inflation is going up as well, and salaries is basically staying the same. So we've got to figure out how we're going to deal with this. If you've got a question or you've got a comment, or you've got a solution, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. JB, you usually broadcast on Facebook and the other social media. You're doing that today?
Yes, indeed. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn even also. So we're everywhere. Carl, and it says JB on the Carl Nelson Show.
All right. So how do people link in?
Just make sure you search JB Bryan. You can't miss it. And it's going to say live, and make sure you subscribe so that every time I'm with Carl, you'll get the reminder. But AfroEconomics with JB Bryan is streaming live right now on Facebook. And you can hear Carl and you can hear me. And so we're right there together.
See JB. All of you want to know what JB looks like.
Great.
You can actually see her.
Yes, indeed.
So, JB, again, all these costs are going up, but as you mentioned, our salaries are not moving up in the same direction. You're saying that we should conserve.
I wanted to share a point about something also. I wanted to share about cars, Carl. Don't buy a car right now if you don't have to. You know, there are so many people buying cars right now. Do you know how much money dealerships are making on used cars right now? Used cars really already were their profit center. And a lot of people think that dealerships made their most money off new cars. Don't you think most people thought that? But the profits have always been in the used cars. You're able to do better, get better profit margins, make better markups for the dealership. Now, of course, for the buyer, you know, you lose dramatic amounts of money when you drive off the lot when you buy the new car. But if you came back and you had that used car, they'd buy it back from you at a cheaper price and they'd sell it again for more to someone else. So right now, because that you can't get to the what is needed, the chips that are needed to make the new cars, so the supplies are down. The used cars are selling at a premium, so they're making more money and you're paying way too much. So then you're going out here, you're buying this car above the blue book value, and then you're going to one day try to sell it. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be upside down. So don't, be very careful. If your car broke down, I get it, then maybe, but I would seriously consider riding the bus through this time period until they slow down.
How long, JB? How long do you think before the prices for used cars stabilize or go down?
I would expect at least a year for this to go through, just to phase out, just like the housing market. It's still trying, and some of the, prices are still inflated, but that's going to be slowing down within a year or so. If you're out there and you need a house, if you can wait a year, and especially if you have to too, it's going to be well worth your while of making sure that you're not buying something overpriced. Don't get involved in the emotion of that, I have to have it right now, even though I know, like if God has brought it to your attention that you're paying too much for this, which would mean the lender is making you come to the table with money because they don't want to finance it for the price that you're paying for it. You're out of order. But people are doing it. People are doing it. Millions.
But I'm trying to figure out, are the prices you think they're going to stabilize? They're going to stay where they are, or they're going to decline, or they're going to, not climb as fast as they're going right now?
They're just going to decline over time and come back closer to their actual market value. It's like you're just paying way too much. And a good way of determining that is if you can get appraisals and it's saying that, yes, there's consistent buys in this neighborhood at this value, and the lender is backing it up and they're going into debt in this property with you, then that pretty much tells you, okay, I'm not doing anything crazy. But if you're buying this $500,000 house and the lender says, I'm only going to give you 450,000, then they're saying that you're paying at least 50,000 too much for this house.
Wow.
And they're not going to
JB,
give you 100% anyway. So if it's at 500, they might only finance 400 of it. And then, you might be buying it for 600. So you're taking everything from your house you sold and you're putting into this house. And because you have this money, and that's mostly what's creating this, is because the cash is there. So people are taking what took them 20 years to accumulate, everything they made on their house, and putting it into something else and like kind of dropping it into a black hole. Because when they want to sell it, it might take them 20 more years just to break even from that mistake. It might take 10 more to come out ahead. Now, it could work totally differently, but I'm just saying, if we stay focused on what we know, when you know you're out of order, take it as a warning. I know I'm paying too much. And as long as you know you're paying too much, hey, take that hit. But don't act like you didn't realize what you were doing after you do it. And that happens a lot. And they go, oh, I knew I had to come up with that money. But yes, don't. No excuses. No excuse. Let's stay wide open about our financial decisions.
All right, JB, a tweeter just tweeted and says a friend of his just on Friday actually bought his wife a 2022 Yukon SUV. It was $70,000. He says he almost passed out when he saw the price tag. I just want you to know that.
I hope it was like, what do they call it, EV? That it was an electric vehicle, Yukon.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't. It wasn't. Woo! Wow. So the gas gonna be like, what's it out? Like $120 to fill it up, probably.
Yeah, to fill it up.
It's beautiful
and
though.
As you mentioned, it loses value as soon as she drove it off the lot.
Yes. Don't let her drive it off the lot. Stay in the lot. Sleep in the lot.
I want to talk to you, JB.
That's
800-450-7876. Weeta's reaching out to us on line 2, calling from Georgia. Weeta, you're on with JB Bryan.
Yes, good afternoon to the both of you, and thanks so much for taking my call. I have a question, JB, as it relates to the 401. I need your financial expertise here on this one. As it relates to the 401k plan. I have a coworker who has been employed within the company for over 5 years, so she is 100% vested in the company. However, at this point in her life, she has a terminal illness.
Wow.
And it has been told to her by her doctor that, eventually she will die. Okay. She is concerned about the possibility of changing her beneficiary on her 401k plan because for reasons that she doesn't want the possibility of her husband, maybe after she's gone, take all of her 401k and spend it on some other person in her absence. What advice can you give to me, perhaps, to give to her? I think she may be listening on air, but in the event she isn't, I was under the impression that you can't change a beneficiary like that. If you're married and this is your spouse, this is your husband or your wife, you can't go and say, I want to change that beneficiary and make it Michael Jones. My third husband.
That's right. People have done that, but they go to jail. Look, if you get paperwork that the spouse signs that they don't want to be the beneficiary, and it has to be notarized, it probably can be done. So what people have done is find a friend that's a notary, and then the spouse finds out, and then the notary and the person go to jail. So, but it's there's a law, and most major employers, I'm sure, are locked in. If she works for one of the big companies, it says your spouse has to be your beneficiary on that work retirement plan. If they are not, they have to sign off and say that they don't want to be the beneficiary, and they realize that they're not, even on the pension and things like that as well. So if they want to control things in that way, the best policy and I know it sounds kind of, just cliche, but honesty is the best policy. And they really need to say to the spouse that I'm concerned about this, and help them with, maybe they need to set up a trust or some legal documentation on help the person manage it after their death. um, Join AfroEconomics as a couple so that, and I've had that happen before. I was walking in church and someone that had known me because I'd been in the same church forever. And I walk in and he says, I have a terminal illness and I need you to help my wife. And I said, oh no, I was so young. I didn't realize that this happens. People find out they're about to die. And he said, no, I really am. And I need you to help me and my wife. I need you to help me make sure she's set. So we got her all set up, and he was right because she does have different financial values than what he had. And I try my best to keep up with the things that she does. And she will run things by me before she'll do things, which is very important. But that, by him bringing her in, and getting involved, I think that honesty and communicating is very important. And his thing was about teaching her really to take care of her own things because she had as much as he had. He was like, I just want to make sure that she continues to take care of what we've built together, when I'm
Well, that's all
gone.
right there, JB. We got to take a short break, and we just stay with us if you got a follow-up question. Some more folks want to talk to you. Got some tweets for you as well. 800-450-7876. Speak to JB Bryan and talk about finances. We'll take your calls next on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Acronym. That's right.
Today on Hey
MJ.
Culligan,
Hello,
sustainability and
MJ.
better water. Here's
MJ. Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. We JBing for show.
Super question, Sam, and the
Good
answer
question.
is an always-on
Good
drinking
question,
water system from
Wida.
Culligan, which helps eliminate the equivalent of
Good
15
question.
billion single-use plastic bottles a year. Whoa, that's a ton of sustainability.
Mm.
416,000 tons.
The weather's
And
getting
the
really
more are
bad.
underway.
Paul, you see that?
With a free in-home water test with the local
You see
Culligan
that?
water expert at Culligan.com.
And then what? It looks like it's a storm out there.
So am I.
Yes.
Because I'm at risk for pneumococcal
Maybe it's
pneumonia.
just a
I'm
window.
asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital. Age 65 or older.
How you doing, Mr. Walton? How are you? Hello, right back at you. No, no, it's my JB. Everybody's like, my JB. The Snoopy D. Great question. You got a second part to the question. Low.
May have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional
Okay.
common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855.
Y'all better stop trying to keep that money.
Or visit Prevnar20.com. I want to be able to keep my
Tell your
plans.
friend they better do that family membership.
Vaccinated with Prevnar 20. Hi everyone, Al Roker here.
How you doing?
Catchphrase. I appreciate that Smokey's only said
Miss Patrick.
wildfires.
Deborah
but I'm
Patrick.
doing it because there's a lot more to report.
Miss
Like when there are
Robinson.
harsh or windy conditions out there, you got to be extra careful with things like
Mm.
burning yard waste. After all, wildfires can start anywhere,
Yes,
even in
indeed.
your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the
I
U.S.
appreciate
Forest
you
Service,
all
your
taking the
state forester,
time.
and the Ad Council.
Stay with us. It gets even better.
Thanks for
Stay
staying
with
with us, folks. I guess his financial advisor, JB Bryan. You got a question for JB? Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. JB's also broadcasting live on various platforms.
Amen.
I see a lot of folks are checking in, and JB would feel free to shout them out because they're all want to talk to you. Again, if you'd like to speak to her, though, on the radio, 800-450-7876. So I'm going to let you finish your response to Weeda's question.
So Wida actually just put on social media that she has a second part to the question. So I don't know what the second part is. Let me brace myself.
All right, here's the second part to the question. Back to the two people involved, and I'm not trying to use the platform for this, but the person who has the terminal illness, she is 100% sure that her husband is seeing, like some other woman already, and that's what's really going on. So that is primarily the reason why she wants to remove his name from any possible.
That's so sad. That is so sad. God give me strength, right? But if that was my situation, I don't know. I don't know, but it just comes to my heart that I would want my husband to be happy. But I think that that's a powerful point, because the point of a trust is actually for people who want to control their money after their death. She is exactly the type of person that trusts were designed for. That she was like to tell him what to do with it. But the hard part is that all of her assets being in work, they're not designed, for that, unless he signs off and says, I'm gonna let you do this. But the it I would love to meet your friend, because I honestly believe that she's gonna have a good time. Like, what if heaven is so much better than here and no money worries? And she's worried about this little bit of money here.
Ladies, is this a real big deal? I mean, because probably for another show, but after you die, you're dead.
But
so
it's a real issue. It is a real issue, yo.
Rita, why would you be concerned what happens?
And Carl, it's mostly women. It's mostly women that do this. I have to be honest about this. For professionally, I've been doing this for 30 years, right? The women worry about the after money more than the men. I have not. Even if the man, you know what I mean, is actively has a relationship with someone else, he still always leaves his wife as the beneficiary. And from my situation, I've never seen him like try to get it out or put it into the girlfriend's name or something like that. But the women will go out of their way to get the spouse and like get to the kids and not want the spouse to get anything. That's interesting statistically. Like, if it was some sort of survey, I would have to say, like, if it happens, it's 90% of the time it's women who are more concerned about that, but I'm sure that there's some men that are concerned, about it. And maybe men just don't feel like they're gonna die. They live like I live. Like, I feel like every day could be my last. So let's just max this out. When you said this lady has a terminal illness, I said to myself, well, she's just like everybody else, because we all were born with a death sentence. We just don't know what day. She feels like she knows what day, but this could be it. Y'all can never, and I want her to grasp that we do not know when it's over. But if this is a concern, which at this point in her life, I don't think she should be worried about anything. But if this is a concern, she needs to get a lawyer involved.
And unfortunately, JB, this is a very huge concern with her. So
that's so sad.
And Carl, this is how I hate to put it this way, but us girls, we're like
this is a whole different show. I'm gonna get all kind of tweets about this. It's real. It's definitely this show, and I really think we need to focus on my first statement. Honesty is the best policy. And I've gotten, I get calls about this, and I'm not that one. I'm not that one. I'm going to always say, be honest with one another, because it just makes for a better life. It makes for a better life. Right. And I want to move on, because we go down this road. There's a whole bunch of tweets for you, JB. So I'm going to leave them alone. So I got your tweets, though. Right. I want you to know that. We didn't have a follow-up question.
No, I think that wraps it up for me.
Good.
Okay.
Y'all be nice. Exactly.
All right. JB, one tweeter. This is a little different, though. He says, please ask JB how to invest a portion of their Social Security in a Roth IRA.
You see, a Roth is for a person that has actually earned income. And Social Security is called passive income. Like, you've already earned that, and that's getting paid on the earnings that you put in it. So you would have to actually have another job in order to be able to do the Roth idea. With your Social Security income is not income. You would have to have some other actually earned income in order to participate. So, but definitely call me and get more details on your exact situation, because you may be getting Social Security and still working and all of that. So we can definitely look into, Roth IRAs and what would be best for you from a tax perspective, because a lot of people think that the Roth is like the best option because when you take it out, you don't but have to pay the taxes and things, but you also have to know all of the other criteria that are associated with it, and it has income maxes and everything. So the Roth is not for everyone, nor is the traditional IRA for everyone. So that's where a financial advisor comes in, and I can help you go through which IRA is best for your financial goals in your tax situation.
All right. As I mentioned, I got a bunch of folks who want to
Great.
take the list. Go
Great.
and reach out to some of them. 800-450-7876. Go to Arizona. Marcus is waiting for us. He's on line 3. Marcus, you're on with JB.
How you doing, Marcus?
Good evening. Good evening to your guests.
Thank you.
This question here is probably a little more geopolitical.
Okay.
With the current situation in Russia and their money, their currency being less than a penny, do you think it's a good investment to buy that ruble and hold it and wait a little bit to see what's going to happen? Do you think that's a good investment?
That is quite a good thought.
Never let that situation go to waste.
That's quite a good thought. I just, I don't know how you could get to it, but I think that international investing right now, there's some value there. I don't know specifically if you should try that as high risk as, Russian currency, but your thought process, I totally get. And I feel that where America, our stock market, has been doing really well until we, ran into this quarter. So we're constantly searching for value as investors. So internationally, there's some value there. Some international companies that are doing well, have strong management, have a strong earnings history, but their prices, they're underpriced. So there's definitely some potential there for a long-term investor who is comfortable with risk. So I get your question. I can't give you a yes or no on that, but I definitely understand the logic behind that, and mad respect for considering it, and continue to look into it.
Well, let me jump in here for a second. Then, what about gold? Because they always tell us whenever there's turmoil in the world that you should invest in gold. Is that a good investment?
Gold has been doing well, and it's not really the turmoil in the world. It's just, I guess, people become more confident about things that they understand. So gold started moving higher. And you can get gold. You don't have to buy actual gold. You can get gold ETFs and companies that mine golds. There's funds that are just made up of gold mining companies, and those type of things have been having a good run currently because of the high inflation and just because of investors looking for opportunities in things that they understand. I've kind of noticed an inverse relationship between gold and other metals versus cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency has been struggling where the metals have started to do better. So, but there are some things that we can talk about but that's a great question and things to look into. But I just, as a disclaimer, I'm not, as a licensed advisor, I can't give you direct advice to say get afterwards, but to do it. But I can definitely say you should be looking at it. I can report that it has had some positive movement lately, and international and metals, gold, silver are areas that we should be continuing to look at, as we always do.
All right, we're coming up on a break. Marcus, you still with us? You have a follow-up?
Yes, I'm here.
Great question.
You have a follow-up question?
No, that's it.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus.
Go, Marcus.
800 450-7876. Let's go to Derek in Colorado. He's on line 4. Derek, you're on with JB Bryan.
Yes, I'll be. I just have one comment dealing with what I heard earlier, and 2 comments dealing with real estate. First one's dealing with I just had a truck. It was a 4x4. Anyway, I took it to the garage thing. He says it needs $3,000 worth of work. I said, man, and somebody says maybe I should think about getting a vehicle. Then I thought about. Then I think I caught a tip of what you're saying. The question is, did I make? I took the money out of the $3,000 out of my IRA account to now I got everything else like that.
Yeah.
So hold on right there, Derek. We got to take a short break. I'll let you finish your
I
question.
see where he's going.
Your comment for JB Bryan on the other side. Folks, you too can join us. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876, and we'll take your calls after this quick break on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Good point.
At Minimally Invasive Vascular Center, they address your problem.
I think he's gonna ask.
Yo, I took $4 million out of my IRA. Okay, you make a lot of money. Okay, bro, man, just get a hoopty. Don't get no. Just put that money in that car. Get a hoopty.
Right.
I mean, because used cars are costing so much money now. And listen.
But you know what? You know what's going up too. Not only used cars. He talked about repairs. If you have now is not a time to even if something's broke, man. You can hold out. If you can hold out for a while, because these people are jacking up the prices on everything.
That's crazy.
And listen, it's nice that you have your fancy car. I don't care how much money you make a year. It costs X amount of dollars to get it fixed. They take out a whole section. And back in the day, they took out one little thing and charged you $5. No, they was losing money there. Now they take out half that section, tell you it's no good. And you don't have to throw the whole section away.
Exactly.
Right. Well, see, they're going for the home run now. Back then, they're just doing singles, and doubles. Now, everybody's so greedy, man. They're trying to make their money on you.
Sick.
If you've got something to fix, if you can hold out, I would say hold out.
Amen. Amen. So true.
That is real talk. Hold out. If you can hold out, like I say, hold out.
Yeah, the longer you can hold out, because these repair guys, man, a friend of mine just had a TV thing he took to the repair shop. At first they told him it was like $30 to fix, and then it came back it was $300. He said, "Nah, take that stuff out." I'll take it home. Yeah, what you put in, because you told me $30, and now you tell me $300. He's like, you missed those? No, and I told him, I says, that's what they're doing these days.
And a lot of people don't know about their vehicles. When you come back from the shop, you better go over your stuff yourself, because
yes, sir.
They don't tighten up everything, and as time goes along, you either losing oil or you losing stuff that's going to cost more money because they didn't complete the job, because they work in 4 cars at one time. They say it takes 4 hours to change some plugs. If you start working on 8 cars, maybe it just take a half an hour.
Right, but you're right. But they're jacking everything up, man. I'm telling you, these cars, especially cars.
Yes, sir. Motorcycles are nice. I love motorcycles, but they ain't actually. How much it costs to change oil in your car? For argument's sake, say $80, right? According to where you go. A motorcycle shop costs you down there $200 for an oil change on a motorcycle.
I was thinking the same when we were talking. That's right.
That's
right.
Sponsored by the Maryland Army National Guard. Aired by the Maryland, D.C., Delaware Broadcasters Association at this station.
Listen to the Carl Nelson Show on Alexa.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. I guess it's JB Bryan. JB is a financial advisor, and she's broadcasting live on all sorts of social platforms. You've got one, just put in a name, and you probably see her face. But before we go back to JB and Derek, who's calling us from Colorado, I just want to remind you at the top of the hour, we're going to switch over to Black politics expert, Dr. James Taylor. And later this week, you're going to hear from history professor, Dr. Gerald Horn, from University of Houston, and Professor Ray Wimbush is going to join us as well. He's from Morgan State University. So if you're in the DMV, keep your radio locked on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL. All right, Derek in Colorado, your question or your comment for JB?
Yeah, I went over there. I said that real quick. I had one on the car and the 2 on the real estate. And the first one was I had a 2006 Ford Ranger. I took it to the place. The guy says, "Well, it's going to need about $3,000 worth of work."
Okay.
And I thought about it, and I said, "Well," and then I withdrew the money from my TD Ameritrade account. It's an IRA account. $3,000 I got it taken care of because I just figured that's the best way to go. Guy says, even I did that, I'll have to pay it next year, and hopefully I did the right thing. Another one was I was looking at some homes, and the first one I saw was a home that was over $700,000, and I said, "You got to be kidding!" The lady says, "You know something? I've had over 17 offers over $100,000 over," and as she tells me that, I don't know if you agree or not. She says the house is anytime you have property is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Okay. And I don't know if that's correct or not. Then she went on to say they had a whole bunch of forest fires. They had 1,000 people lose homes, and people are getting desperate to where to live and everything else like that. Maybe that's driving up the cost of the homes, at least here. And
supply and demand.
Yeah, and she was just saying that, what can be done for? I keep on running all these people. They keep on. I guess they have it across the country, as far as people saying they can't afford homes and everything else like that. They said somebody says there's enough homes, but people aren't making enough income to afford the homes.
That's right. But they actually say that there's more of a demand for homes than actually are available, that it's demand is higher than supply, and that's why the home prices are inflated. But I think it really depends on, like you said, the region of the country, and where you are. But that you brought up some very good points. And when the realtor said the house is worth what a person is willing to pay for it, she said nothing but the truth. That is so true. If we're willing to pay more than what it's actually valued at by the basic person, then that's what the house is worth. But that does not guarantee that you'll be able to sell that in the future. But if you're not interested in selling anytime soon, this is just for you to be in forever, you're not, looking at it as an investment, then a person, I guess, feels comfortable doing that. But you are correct. Like, just because these 14 people are being irrational doesn't mean I have to be number 15. It's like, she's like, I have 14 offers. Well, go for it.
About the truck.
And I think that over the break, Carl brought up a good point that that sometimes the fee for doing the repair is inflated. But as long as that fee that you paid is the same fee you would have paid last year this time, then that's great. But sometimes people are coming back and, they're paying twice as much for the same repair just because people are keeping cars that are older and they want to make sure that they're making money on it.
Okay, so what you're saying is bait and switch, everything. I'm finding at least for me,
yes,
a lot of people are getting, a lot of the dealers and a lot of the other people are getting desperate, and they may be jacking up the prices of repairs.
Yes,
to make up for they can't sell cars, so
yes,
they're jacking up the prices.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So as long as you don't feel that you overpaid for the repair, you were right on point. It's probably was better value to take care of the vehicle that you have than to, buy another one that's inflated, in price for sure. So, but you're correct. And then you have to think, how long do I have to make sure that I keep it now? It's kind of like when you refinance or you invest in anything and you pay this fee for it. So $300 a month of 10 months is pretty much what you spent for a $3,000 repair, right? You could say,
I took it out of my IRA.
Yes. And then you got to factor in that you had to pay taxes on it. So say you took out $4,000 in order to do it. So that's a $400 car payment. I mean, I'm just saying psychologically, you can look at it this way, that it's a car payment. Like one time I had an old vehicle and they told me that you can look up the average cost of keeping the car. So I had this ML Benz, and they said that on average, this car is going to cost you $5,000 to continue to keep it. And I just got rid of the car and bought a car. You know, but I had gotten into this philosophy of a car payment is a way of life because I had always seen it. Everybody in my family always had a car payment. I thought it was just what people do. And then somewhere in there, when they explained to me that just keeping this car, even though it's paid for, was going to cost me $5,000 a year, I said, no, I'm going to buy me a car. And I bought a car. And it has saved me so much of my life because I don't have that pressure of that payment, that stress. So I can take a walk. You can do things. You can take care of yourself. But when we have this payment mentality, it keeps you chasing. You always running. But yeah, but you did I get it. And
Right.
you did a great job. We're gonna maximize what you did. You know, it's so hard afterwards questioning yourself. So I want to give you, let you know that I understand, and just try not to do anything for a year. Keep that car for a year so that you can get your money back out. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Thanks, Dad. We're going to keep moving because we're racing the clock. We got a bunch of folks on the phone to JB.
Great.
All right. Thank you. 800-450-7876. Roy's on line 5. He's calling from Maryland. Roy, you're on with JB.
Hey, JB, that 401 answer you gave prior caught my attention. I had been saving the 401 for quite a while, and then I went for a loan, and then I was shocked when my wife had to sign, and we had to get it notarized.
Yeah.
But when you said that you have to list your spouse. I had a friend that his wife died, and he changed his 401k beneficiary to his grandkids, but he remarried.
Ooh.
And he was married to her for about 15 years, and he never acknowledged that he was remarried. So is that illegal?
Kinda, but he'll probably get away with it. You know what I'm saying? But it is.
He passed away last year, and so I'm assuming that the grandkids going to get the 401k.
The sad part is
I heard that, I was like, wow.
I just hope that the grandkids are grown, because if they're not over 18,
They are.
oh, good. They can actually get it. But but that's that's a loophole. That's a loophole. And she probably had her own benefits. So there was nothing that he did at work that triggered that he got married. Like if he had to put her on his health insurance or something like that, then it would have triggered it that you're married. And then it would have made him, because if you have a life event, and they probably sent out something, but he just didn't do it. They probably said, if anything changed in your life, at that renewal period, did anything happen? Did you get married? And he had to have been, checking off no. So he's going to jail.
That's fine.
Look, he's going to jail. I'm just joking. I know he's home free. He's home free.
Thanks, Roy.
Okay.
Thanks, Roy.
I was shocked that I didn't know it was mandatory though myself. That's what shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, why did I have to go through all that? And he didn't. But now you kind of answered it yourself.
No, I'm fine. I've been married over 40-something years.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Roy. We're going to keep moving.
Beautiful.
800-450-7876. James is on line 2. He's calling from D.C. James, you're on with JB. James, you're on line 2? I think we've lost James.
Yeah.
But here's a tweet I want to read for you,
Okay.
JB. Tweet says, it's real. It says, my wife has $40,000 for me, and my kids have the other $300,000 because she doesn't want me to spend on another woman when she dies. She's 6 years older than me. So he's saying that what we were talking about earlier, it's the real deal. People are concerned about the afterlife. So are you saying that a trust forming a living or revoke? What kind of trust should you have then? Protect yourself.
She would have to put the beneficiary is the trust. And then in the trust, and he would have to sign off. Like, that must not be a work plan. Because once you retire and you put it into an IRA, say you leave the job, you roll over to an IRA, it can be anyone. My clients that have an IRA with me, their beneficiary can be anyone they want. These laws that we're talking about are just for work. So say you have an IRA or a work plan and your spouse signs off that you can set up whoever you want. And then you set the trust. And in the trust documents, you and the lawyer set up that this is to pay to my husband as long as he doesn't get married to anyone else. And if he gets married to someone else, then it goes to my kids and da 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 da. I mean, people have stuff like that out there.
Well, hold that thought right there, JB. Can it be specific? Can you write this? This would be unless he gets married to Elaine. If he knows his probably.
Oh, right. Yeah, definitely.
Tipping with Elaine, as long as it's okay. If it gets married to Elaine, all bets are off.
That's right. Or anyone I know. Anyone that I know. Anyone, you can put in there anything you want, but then it can be argued, like by someone else that she, mama knew her, and they, because it might be someone that she knew, or the guidelines says someone she knew. But yeah, you can put it as specific as you want, or what type of person, or they have to be of a certain religion or something like that, and then it would have to be cleared by the executor of the trust that they meet the guidelines of what was done. I mean, that happens now. Like, say a person is inheriting, but they have an alcohol problem, and they can say, you get money only if you drug test, alcohol test once a month, and you always come up clean. Anytime you don't come up clean, you do not get your money for the month. People do stuff like that.
So who's going to administer that? Now, somebody's got to administer that.
Yeah, there's you set up your trustee for the trust. And this trustee has to oversee sending them to the lab core to do the drug test, or whoever the drug test place is, and they come back, and then when it comes in, then okay, you get your money this month.
Wow, you should read some of this. I guess you can read them too, because they're coming online. People, the comments that people are saying about what the conversation. I wish you guys would call in there. These conversations.
Yeah.
Anyway, we come up on the break, and we come back. We'll tell you how you can get in touch with JB.
Great.
And we'll speak with James Taylor, Dr. James Taylor, next on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Yes, top notch rocker said. He would leave her now. Money from, that's what it is. The trust is about money, controlling money from the grave. Top notch said he would leave her now. She can keep that money. I know that's right. I know. Oh, thank you, Miss Dr. Freeman. Thank you. All changes. Yeah.
Off-ramp still recovering from
nightmarish.
However, a parking lot of delays remain for you. Sluggish for you.
How you doing, Ms. Rosita?
All stop very little go for you. Continue crawling as you're
Should I pop up?
The Roosevelt Bridge and the Chain Bridge. You want to avoid that if at all possible.
Miss Campbell. Pop up your house, or should you pop up your house? Like fix up your own house, or buy a larger house. Now people spending more and getting less house.
Everything co-op with Vernon Oaks. Green forever with Nature Boy, Raymond Stark. Keeping it real with Al Sharpton and the Carl Nelson Show. Like us on Facebook.
Thank you so much, y'all, for hanging out.
WOLDC News. Download our free mobile app and take us everywhere you are. News Talk 1450 and 95.9 WOL. Worldwide.
Please subscribe and share.
at WOLDCnews.com. WOL, Washington, D.C. W240DJ, Washington. 95.9 WMMJ, HD3, Bethesda. WKYS,
That would be
HD3,
nice, Miss Campbell. Where you been? We gotta talk.
HD3, Waldorf, and
Building the
worldwide
penthouse.
at WOLDCnews.com. The Carl Nelson Show. On 1450 and 95.9. Worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Momentarily, we're speaking with Dr. James Taylor with JB Bryan. Let's wrap up with JB. JB, some of the comments I'm seeing on your line there, folks are talking about oil change. I didn't know that motorcycles were $250 for an oil change for a Harley Davidson.
And you know I ride a motorcycle and had a Harley Davidson for years. Yeah. And I switched recently from my Harley Davidson. I was the all Harley girl. And those oil changes are dramatically more expensive than I switched to a Suzuki, a Hayabusa. And that is amazing. Coming out of DC, I had an oil leak and it ruined the engine. And I rode all the way back to Virginia, Richmond, with the oil leak, and I had no idea. So it ruined the engine. The money that I got from the insurance settlement was exactly enough to buy a Busa. So I took the money. I was like, I am not going to put more money into a bike. You know, I refuse to have a motorcycle payment. So I took my money from one, put it in the other, but it is dramatically different. But the Harley, they premium on the oil change, premium on everything. When I switched over to Suzuki, it's a much more affordable bike for everybody. And to me, a better bike. But I know that Snoopy D, Weeda, other riders that are listening would be like, JB, you know, but no, I mean, they talk about Busas being so fast, but it is a great bike, takes corners, to me, a much safer bike to ride than my V-Rod Harley. But it just depends on what the person is riding for. But you could save a lot of money by just different choices. The difference between a Lexus and a Toyota, right? We're still getting from A to B, but if you go to Toyota, get an oil change, it's a fraction of when you get an oil change on your Lexus. So now was the time for us to learn to be smarter consumers. Don't let this inflation get the best of us, because it's a lot easier for them to inflate a luxury than it is to inflate a necessity. Because if you're going to get any support, it's going to be on don't price gouge things that people have to have. Right? So,
but JB, those oil change prices, are they more expensive than automobiles?
Yeah. Definitely. And there is definitely some expensive equipment that they have to have. And it's, you know, probably in many ways a riskier thing for people to do when they do an oil change on a motorcycle. And I'm sure that they can justify it 1,000 ways. But yeah, it's a luxury. Again, like, do people really need a Harley Davidson? You know, I mean, when you get into something like that, you're talking about a luxury. That's an extra. We're not in a country where it's warm in climate and people are really riding around. And when they do, they don't go on 10,000 horsepower bikes. They do 250s. So these bikes that we're talking about at $250 oil change, it's a luxury item. We have to admit it. So they're going to charge you more. That's nothing that you have to have and nothing that you have to do. If most people that have bikes like that, look, they have a truck and a couple cars and everything, and then the bike.
I got to ask you this though. So what's the outlook though? Because we talked about inflation, we talked about the high prices going up. For you as a financial advisor, what do you think? What do you see looking through your crystal ball? I know it's kind of hard to predict the future, especially when all of a sudden we had the virus, and now we've got the war. What do you see coming down the line, though?
Evictions are on.
Prices are concerned. Yeah.
Evictions are on. Child tax credit is done. They're not sending the money. People don't have the money to feed their kids. People don't have the money to send their kids to daycare. People are not getting raises at work. A lot of the jobs that our community had, they're not hiring us back. There are, in my opinion, sometimes I don't want to see ahead of us. And I'm preparing myself accordingly. I'm not preparing to spend and, oh, what type of vacation we're going to, take this year. I'm not. And I might be overreacting, but I'm seriously in survival mode. Like, what is the least amount of money that we have to spend in order for us to maintain our style of living? And if we have to cut it, we'll cut it as well. But if you don't, you're going to cause stress. It's going to cause, additional stress, for you. So we need to be working together as a team. We need to be co-parenting. People that have children together, these children need you more than ever to work together on how we're going to have childcare and how the income is going to continue to come into your household. These basic financial decisions, we need to get smart about it. Do we really need to have 3 cars and a truck? There's some things that you can sell. We have used cars in most of our homes that are just sitting there. And we're talking about used cars at a premium. Sell it. You can call some of these major places and make $3,000 extra just by calling them. They will come to your house and pick up the car. There's money all around us, but we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it. So, now it's time for us to figure out how to make extra money, how to be best users of our time possible, protect your health, do not get sick. It is very, very hard to get approved for disability. We're going to have to stay on point. Don't engage in any type of recreational drug use. We cannot afford to do it. We can't.
JB, let me ask you this question, because it seems like, we mentioned about the virus, and it seems like that is dissipated now. I'm hearing all these commercials for concerts and shows, and plays. Seems like everything's coming back to normal. Your advice, should we still be holding our money? Because people are pent up, they really want to go out and have fun.
Yeah.
So do we hold our money, or do we go out?
That's where you get strong. You don't do it. You don't do it. And if you do it, why do you have to get front row seat? Like, let someone else waste their money on that. Let's just be there. My husband wanted to go to a comedy show. He's much better, in my opinion, with money than I am as far as things like that. When he got the tickets, it was reasonable. I didn't even ask him. I know that he spent half of what I would have spent if I had bought the tickets. You need to let the person who is in the family that is smarter with things, let them do that. I mean, and I have to admit, yes, I'm the financial advisor, but he is the smarter consumer. Like, he will tighten up and stretch a dollar till it's out of breath. And I learned that from him because we work so hard. You feel like everything has to be a celebration, everything. So when you're a hard worker like I am, and I know you are, whoever's listening out there, you are too. But let's not find our celebration or our relaxation in wasting our hard-earned money anymore. We can't do it. Got to draw back and find a healthier way. Just walking, taking a walk together, sitting outside, looking at your backyard, get to know your neighbors, maximize what we have. Look at your own television that you're paying for. We pay money to go away, to stay in a hotel, and at the same time, you're still paying for your home. So you're away from home, paying for your home.
JB. I'm reading some of the comments there on your site. Somebody says, a real biker lady. Who knew?
Really? Yeah, I've been riding since 2004. A long time. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But
all right. Here's another comment, and I need you to respond to it. It says, even though inflation is up and going higher, person says, I'm stocking up on cash because there's going to be a fire sale coming, and cash will be king.
And cash is always king. Yes, indeed. I don't know if there's some sort of fire sale coming. But I guess what they're saying is everything that inflates has to deflate. Yes, it will be back down. And if people are buying homes overpriced, unfortunately, we've seen it before. And when they lose their job, they can't pay it and they can't refinance to try to get their payment down because the value of the house is no longer there. If that happens, people come and take your house. They come and take it
Is
back.
that a reality, though, JB, that the prices are going to deflate? Because usually people think the prices are going to still be consistent, even though they're going to stop rising. So how do you see it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to go back down, only because it went up so dramatically. So it's definitely, I mean, even the real estate market itself says this is a seller's market, not a buyer's market. It's depending on people being ridiculous because if you're a buyer, if you're a buyer, somebody's got to buy for it to be a seller's market. That's the sad thing about it. But if you were my client and the person was going in to buy and the seller, and I knew that it was totally overpriced, I would have to explain to them, that's like going into the stock market and it says XYZ stock is $100 a share. But because everybody else wants it, I'm going to give it to you for $1,000, and I mean, and you're just, and you're doing it anyway. And you're doing it, but it. Like we could be doing it with our stocks. We really could, but at least we don't know it. You know what I'm saying? It's a supply and demand of a frequency, and it's more liquid. When you're talking about real estate, that it is a lot less liquid. Because once you get in it, you can't just sell it the next afternoon. It's going to take a process to get back out.
All right, we'll come up on a break and stay with us, JB, because Jerome wants to speak to you in D.C. and we're waiting on Dr.
Great. Oh,
Dr.
great.
All right, 800-450-7876. Do we have to take the break now? We got to take the break now. We'll come back speak with Jerome right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Right. 2008, Dr.
This report is sponsored by your next
It
stop at the
happened.
Towel Shop. The Towel Shop is hiring sales and design store and assistant managers in the DMV area. A fast-paced environment with unlimited earning
Cash.
potential. Sign-on bonuses from $500.
Oh,
Growth opportunities
Carl
ahead.
saw your comments.
GW Parkway
Top
still in bad shape. Northbound
notch
through
rocker.
1 accident at Pronghorn Parkway. You'll be crawling from Memorial Avenue.
Thank
Northbound
God,
approaching
Mr.
Bridge. You want to
Johnson. Thank
Get
God I'm
fast.
your financial
Chevy
advisor.
Connecticut Avenue. Northbound approaching
Amen.
Lake Drive, where you want to exercise some caution. And as far as
Yeah.
building very quickly, you'll be slow.
It's too Snoopy Doo. Just too comfortable. Too comfortable. Can we handle it? If we have to tighten up, can we handle it? If you had to go to a bus stop, could you do it? Nobody wants to go to the bus stop.
Also, our lip congestion continues at the bottom of the beltway. Across from you with major backup on the
Damn.
over the Wilson Bridge. I'm Taryn Galbraith for News Talk 1450 AM WOL. Information is power.
I said that.
One VIP
Submission to Afro.
make getting your tax refund simple and easy. It's free to get and no credit check. Enroll in direct
That's
deposit and get your
that's
refund
positive.
faster than waiting for a check in the mail.
That's so
Absolutely
positive.
and easy, just like it should be.
I want to be the LeBron James.
The one VIP Visa prepaid card.
The LeBron got like 56 points or something the other night.
Pursuant to a license from Visa USA.
Bro.
The one VIP card is subject to terms and conditions.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Your historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving
Can we
money
stay
and
in?
paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year smart term loan or our 10-year
Hope Jerome gets to ask his question. Dr. Taylor might be there though.
888 loan or visit loandepot.com. At Loan Depot, home.
I don't know if y'all can hear that.
Subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. MLS number 174.
Oh,
Licensed in all 50 states.
that's positive. God is good.
Hello? Hello? It's me.
March 10th is Harriet Tubman Day.
It's your childhood.
March 10th is my birthday too.
I'm calling to tell you something very important.
I'm gonna put this in here.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
The things that happened to you as a kid,
Very tough
the things
day.
you went through, they were not your fault. And you're not alone. 2/3 of us have experienced
March
what is known as
10th
adverse childhood
is
experiences.
my
ACEs are not our
20th
fault. They
birthday.
happen to us, yet they can hurt us for our whole lives.
But I'm calling to tell you that I've got good news.
Oh, it says
I'm
host.
calling because you're grown up now, and you can
Oh,
be in
are
charge.
you
You can author your
serious?
own story.
Learn how at numberstory.org.
Oh, it's his birthday. You should take me and your son.
On our free mobile app.
I'm actually staying with us, folks. I went on Dr. Taylor. We're still going to hang out with J.B. Bryan, a financial advisor. You got questions about money, reach out to us at 800-450-7876. Jerome did. He's on line 2. He's calling from Washington, D.C. Jerome, you're on with J.B.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? I just had a question about, is there any way you could touch on disability insurance? Because I'm a driver, I'm independent contractor driver, and and I was kind of looking into that to see if that would be good for me in case something happens to me and I need to, take care of my finances.
Yeah. That's a very it's good to have. I would have to investigate your specific situation. Don't hesitate to go to AfroEconomics.com and sign up for membership so that we can do an analysis, because disability insurance policies are not all created equal. And as a self-employed person, we have to be very careful, because they'll have a definition: own occupation versus any occupation. So we want to make sure that we do disability that's own occupation, and get quotes from companies of that say that if you can't drive anymore, because if you do any, it gets your attention because it's real cheap. But it means that if you can breathe, brother, you need to still be working.
Right.
If you can do anything, you know what I'm saying? But we want it to be that if I can't drive, you know what I'm saying? Then I get my money. And so, and then we have to make sure that it is, it gives you the best payout, and how much would it pay, and under what circumstances, and what is the waiting period. So these are some key things right there. Even if you never talk to me, make sure you focus on own occupation, any occupation, and that it's going to be based on your income. So if you've done a lot to make sure your taxable income is lower, then it's going to be hard to get a substantial policy that'll pay you out what you want to get, because it's going to be based on your taxable income.
Okay, and you're saying own, so like, because I work under a company, but I'm still considered
1099
independent contractor. Yeah, because I use my own car.
Yeah. And if they have a policy at work, we can investigate that. Like sometimes they'll have a group plan or something available to you through a group discount. And typically when they do that, it's any occupation policy.
I see.
So you got to be careful. But it's in, and then there's other ways around it. Like we can figure out other ways to cover it. There's ways now you can get life insurance policies that cover chronic illnesses and stuff like that. So there's options, and sometimes the life insurance is a cheaper option, but the criteria will be different as well on what it will cover, but it might be more of what you need. And it basically is using your life insurance death benefit to cover a life event or disability or chronic illness or something like that. So those are becoming, used to be like only one company that had it, and more and more coming out with it. But now there's some term policies that have some good coverages on it, so you don't have to pay the high premium of the permanent policies. So there's just, the insurance gets really deep. But I'm licensed in it, my brother. I've been doing it for 30, years, and I'm only 35. I started real early, so we can do this.
Okay.
I'm like, I just kind of, I feel kind of, grown, Carl, when I say I've been doing something 30 years. It's like, oh, my.
Well, that's good. There are a lot of folks that can't say they've done anything past 10 years. So, but
Amen.
we got Dr. Taylor on deck. But Jimmy
great.
in Houston's been holding for a while, and he wants to talk to you. He's on line one. Jimmy, you're on with JB.
Hey, how you doing, Carl? How you doing, JB?
Make it quick, Jimmy, because Dr. Taylor is waiting.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, I was gonna ask you that traditional versus the
Roth.
The Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the I know one meant for the other one. Well, with me, I with my W-4, I take out more because I got my little side hustle on the side.
Fantastic.
To where I'm getting majority of my check. So I was wondering, like when you retire, like if you're doing the traditional and then you retire, and where you got to pay tax. If you got a side hustle, can you kind of like out balance that where you still don't have to pay tax if you once you retire and you got your side hustle where you're doing a tax write-off? So where I know you with the tradition you got to pay taxes, but if you got this side and you writing off, will it be the same just like if you were still working?
Well, you could, if you have Schedule C taxable income, you can put that into a traditional IRA even after you retire from your W-2 job. Is that what you're saying? As long as you have the income, you can put money into the traditional or the Roth.
Right, because when the side hustle, when you got 600, when you make 600 or more, they'll send you a 1099, and you can do your tax write-offs.
That's right.
So if you're at that retirement age and you're getting your traditional and you're doing a tax write-off, can that offset all the taxes you would have to pay with that deferrable money you've been working all your life for?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if your income from your business was less than the expenses that you spent, that's right, what you're saying?
Right.
Like all your 1099s came in at $10,000, but to operate your small business, it costs you $12,000. That $2,000 loss is on your taxes. Yeah, as long as you have income from your W-2 of more than $2,000, because if you don't, you can't write off a loss that, and get money back in taxes if you haven't paid anything in. And that happens with some people, they, have a business loss, but they just paid zero, but they don't get anything back because they haven't put anything in. Yeah.
Right. Now, would that be a good recommendation versus the Roth?
Would that be a good recommendation to have your own business? If a person has 1099, and they have expenses connected to that 1099, it is the right thing to do to write off those expenses. But the goal is to make money with it. That's the goal for the IRS. They want you to have a business that's you're reporting the income and you're writing off the expenses. So, of course, it might cause alarm if year after year the person is just doing this and generating a loss. It might trigger an audit.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. We appreciate it. Good to hear from you. Have a good one.
All right. So, JB, how can folks reach you?
JB Bryan, JBBRYAN.com, or call 1-844-JBBRYAN. That's 1-844-522-7926. AfroEconomics.com. Free events all through the week. Wednesday nights after the Carl Nelson show, I have financial empowerment webinars every Wednesday night. Friday mornings, Friday afternoons are the AfroEconomics Business Network, and then Sunday mornings, Sunday at sunrise. So there's always free stuff. Just get involved.
All right. Thanks,
Great.
JB.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a good one.
And let me thank all the folks who joined us.
Love y'all. Carl is gone. That was fun. I hope y'all had as much fun as I did. Take care. There we go. Have a great one. Remember, JB@jbbryan.com if you need me. Take care.